Girl, it's Mother Knows,
What up? It's Mother Knows.
and we be knowing
We be knowing and we back.
all things, okay?
Yes.
So we're talking about money,
Money.
finances. Now, money is like, okay, the simple, version, but finances, right?
Yeah.
It's like finances is, I think, a higher view on how you manage your money, how you budget, how you integrate it into your lifestyle, like
Right.
all of those things, and relationships. Um, so yeah, getting into like just the impact of finances, perspective around it, especially relationships.
First things first. My perspective around money has definitely changed. Just talking about my own personal experience. I it was fear based for me at first.
Hmm.
But I had to really kind of work on the fact that we're blessed and we're getting money now. So what we gonna do with it? Like,
We're
don't
not
be
broke anymore.
right.
Like
Don't be
it's like,
scared.
yeah,
Don't be hoarding it and putting it under your couch. Like, figure out
no,
strategic
seriously.
ways to
To invest it,
increase
to
your
increase it, put it in some capable hands.
right.
Like it's okay.
It's okay. You can trust some people.
That's a big leap though, because when you think about how we grew up, like,
Hmm.
and seeing your parent, like, literally work hard, 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 hard to make just enough, right? To keep it going, to
Yeah.
keep things running. Like, I mean, when I say just enough, like literally just enough to keep things running. So it does instill that fear of, okay, once I have money, like, am I going to lose it? Am I going to go back to those times?
Right.
Like, is it going to be that tight again,
And just the examples that we had, like you said, we watched money come in and go out
Just
just
as
as
quickly.
quickly as it
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
So we didn't even have the perspective of what do you do with savings, because
We
we
did.
didn't have savings.
We didn't see it grow, right?
Right.
So how do you then,
So
yeah,
yeah,
expand your
right.
money?
So
Yeah.
not only do you not know about savings, but then it's like, okay, well, what do I do once I
Mhm.
have a nest egg?
Mhm.
You know?
Like, what do I do with it? And then when you know what to do with it, but it's like that fear of handing it
Yeah.
over, to a company or
Like,
to an accountant, someone,
yeah.
right, to a professional to do it, to do with it what they're supposed to do. But you're like,
Hmm.
I don't know if they're gonna really make it do what it's supposed to
Right.
do.
And honestly, like the way, systems work, for me, one of the first times I invested my money, and my financial advisor was like, okay, for the next 6 months, this money is going to be locked
Mhm.
in because it has to do what it's going to do with the,
Mhm.
stock market. You can't just take it out when you
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait,
Right.
it's
So
my money.
it's right, but I can't touch my money, a sizable sum
uh,
of money for at least 6 months,
yeah. So,
probably longer.
right. So coming into all of that and not knowing any of it, just imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, so stepping back, then, like you said, fear. I feel like fear around money has really plagued our community for a long time on
Hmm.
both sides, men
Yeah.
and women. Um, and it's something that you definitely see how it influences the dynamic of relationships between men and women,
Between
or partners, right,
right,
that are coming together to
and
build
especially in our
together.
community.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just the fear around it, like both sides, and the oppressiveness that you feel around it sometimes too. Like, okay, like I got to work, I got to grind to get, I got to
Right.
scrape, I got to, and so it's interesting to see how it impacts both sides of the relationship,
Hmm.
but still differently. Because if you ask a black man, right, like his fears around money, what is that? If you ask a woman, what are her fears around money? It's going to be something different. So
And I think society dictates that a lot,
yeah.
expectations of men versus women.
Hmm.
Interestingly enough, I saw a post, and it really, for me, it sparked a lot of, people get emotional when they see something that's emotionally charging.
Yeah.
But it sparked a lot of comments. I think people coming into the defensive, but for me, when I saw this comment or a post, it really, for me, was eye opening. But there was a young black man who posted and said, when I think about, and he was talking about dating black women versus white women, and this is a black man. So he said, when I think about dating a black woman, I immediately, like when I meet a black woman and I'm interested,
Hmm.
I immediately get the thought of a little bit of fear based on the fact that I know that they have expectations that I need to do, I need to have their hair done. I need to come correct with bills. I need to pay bills for them. I need to, and the comment section went off on him
Hmm.
basically. But for me, it was like, I never thought about it. He said he basically said, like, I instantly have this, there's an expectation that I have that they're going to think that I am going to have to provide, for them financially. And this was like in a dating setting, like
Okay.
immediately, like when I first
That's
meet you,
interesting. Like,
and I'm thinking, when I first meet a woman, I get the fear, a black woman, I get this fear that they need to get their nails done, their hair done, their bills paid, and for me, that is a little bit a deterrent for dating black women. And like I said, the comment section went off, but it had me thinking, like, it makes me think about the relationship that black women and black men have with each other, with money, and what money does to affect that dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's so deep, y'all. Like, it really is deep to me. Thinking about how, our community was brought to this country, how we had to scrape to survive. I mean, literally living off of scraps from somebody else's kitchen, right?
Literally.
And then once you get your freedom, still being oppressed, still having to figure it out, the stressors of all of that combined with loving someone and trying to build a life with someone, it's a lot, So I think that it's trickled down in our relationships where there's this expectation of, yeah, I do want to be taken care of. A black woman should want to be taken care of. But also too, from the black man's perspective, it's like, that's a lot on me.
Yeah, because so what I hear is, okay, so my first question was like, I wonder what he heard from the women raising him around their expectations of money, right? So is he a young boy, like, listening to his mom and aunts and friends talk about like how they want their man to, take care of them.
Can you pay my bills?
Right. But then the other side of that is, did he see a man lead financially? Like, did he see those? Because it's one thing to hear about, right, how a man can or should provide for his family, but did he see it? Because if you're scared of it, why are you scared of it, right? Like, if you had those examples, if you had that education and rearing in, this is how a man financially leads, this is how he provides, this is what he, this is what he does, and he saw it, I don't think he would have the fear around it.
Right.
And I think that that's a big, one of the big issues, right? When you stem back from slavery and they're being ripped apart and the man's being shipped here and the woman's in the house, or, like, they're separated.
Yeah.
And so that trickles down into tearing up the black family. And so children don't see how a man and a woman come together to financially, economically build their family up. And I'm not saying like this is all across the board, because we know there's Black Wall Street and there's thriving
there's
black communities, right? But for a lot of men to be scared of that, then that to me says, did they get the education they needed and the examples, the visual examples they needed to ground them in that experience? Because if I'm scared of it, then I don't know about it,
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of that is, that's probably the root of it.
Yeah.
They didn't see that.
Yeah.
They didn't get those examples. One other thing that he mentioned was, in dating outside of his race, specifically white women, he felt like, they would come to the table and help with the bills and, help with whatever. And it's like, okay, you have someone coming to the table, not all the time, but historically speaking, our community versus that community, those women probably did see their parents save. They probably did see, it may have been, I'm not assuming that it was a 2-parent household, but they had grandma and grandpa's money. Those are like and I hate to generalize, but for, by and large, when you're comparing communities, you're comparing the wealth gap, you're comparing, these are things that we have had to overcome that they have typically not had to overcome.
Right.
So,
right.
Of course, there's ease around money.
I was gonna say there's ease, and there's a certain air of privilege around money, right? Because when you don't have that worry, when you don't have the stress, when you don't have the angst around it, Black women for hundreds of years have had to, again, one, see their men, their providers stripped from them, and then having to step into that role to become the provider, to get it done by any means necessary, to work themselves to the bone,
right? Literally making $1 out of
1 cent, like watching your grandma go walk down the road, walk to her job to go fold, to clean and fold, to clean somebody's house. Like, women had to step into that role. And you're talking about a span of hundreds of years, you know? So I think that I do think that there's a sense now where Black women are starting to realize, like, wait a minute, I do deserve, right? I do deserve a life of softness, of ease, of I'm worthy of that. So yes, I feel like it could probably be a little jarring, defensive for a man to see a woman realize that about herself and then have to step up and elevate himself into that space to be able to carry that on. But we have to get into a position where it's okay for women to like look to men to lead if they choose to, like to look to men to be the provider. If they choose to, that's okay.
And there's I agree with that. And there's also, I think, some peeling back for us as women. I don't even want to say Black women, but to a certain degree. I'm thinking about the video that went around that made a little bit of waves when Tamar was on T.S. Madison. I think T.S. Madison.
Oh yeah, she was like, "How do I know?"
She was like, "How do I know a man likes me?
If he doesn't buy me some gifts, like if he doesn't give me some money."
She's like, "I'm old school. If he don't buy me something, how do I know he likes me? You know." So
I know, yeah.
In that mindset is, I mean, look, we grew up in the early 2000s. We ain't too far from Tamar.
Like, I'm with Tamar. How do I know?
Take me out to eat, you know.
How do I know that you?
How do I know
you like me if you don't, in some form of fashion, want to treat me like
a queen? Yeah. So I think there's a peeling back of some of that mindset that it doesn't have to be, because a lot of times I think when you are living in scarcity, love language, money becomes a love language when you're not used to it, right? So there is some peeling back that needs to be had around that. But again, like you said, we are worthy of and we deserve a soft life.
Yeah, because we've been stuck in the scarcity mindset for a long time. And I can say personally, like growing up, it was a lot of scarcity language, right? So I had this until, right? Like I got to work all these hours to get this. Like I had to. So then also on the other side of that, the expectation was, if a man comes into my life, he got to
elevate.
He got to be able to elevate me. He got to be doing more than what I'm doing for myself. Like he has to. So I do think that's a fair expectation. I think that we have to, again, like get to the root of the fear around it. But with that being said, Black women calling men up to say, look, like, just tired, you know, like just collectively, like a sigh of relief is needed.
Yeah.
However, collectively for Black men, a sigh of relief is needed as well. But how do we balance that relief, right? So if I'm asking you to step up and be a provider and kind of take on some of these things to a greater extent, how am I there for you emotionally? So when you come to me, like when you need that respite, when you need that encouragement and motivation, I'm here to be your soft space.
And so it has to be comfortable expressing that you need it.
It has to be a balance in that, you know, and that's how you get comfortable, is me extending that grace, that softness, that, you know, like that encouragement. That's how you become comfortable in doing so.
I like that you said there has to be a healthy balance of it, though. Because I do think when I'm thinking about historically what we as Black women have struggled with when it comes to Black men, it really is the, you know, taking on the role of mama. with a man that you are supposed to love on in a romantic relationship, but they're looking at you as if you are their nurturer still. Like,
you are as in a wife role,
but like you're not. I feel like Black women have for too long been called upon to like literally grow up a little boy inside of a man, and I hate that for us, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and what I'll say is I agree. Again, I think that it's twofold, because what I hear when I hear Black women say collectively, we're tired, right? Like, step it up, like financially provide so I can kind of, you know, ease into my femininity, so I can kind of flow more, be free flowing. For me, I'll say personally, for a long time, the little girl inside of me needed to see that from the man, the adult figure in her life. And to an extent didn't see it as much as she needed to. So when I got married, I was looking at my husband like, all right, bro, like you about to heal these wounds. Like You are the one to heal these wounds, like these little girl wounds, and being the provider and taking care of me and spoiling me, and like that was my thing. And so again, it's really like the inner child inside of Black men and Black women that needs to be healed, so we can come together in a more healthy way.
On top of historical oppression, like it's on
top of it, right? On top of the oppression, right? Like, which the oppression is guiding all of this, right?
Yeah. So it gets deep, but I think what I see in us as a generation, this newer generation, millennials and on, I love seeing like the call for healthy Black families, for us to like really start working on those traumas, those inner childhood issues. We're really trying to start peeling those back, and I appreciate that, because it's necessary, because at the end of it, at the root of it, we love on each other so much when it's healthy, and when it's strong, and when it's intentional. It's so beautiful.
And I'll say this, like, we have to always be, it's a great conversation, because this is like a reality for Black households. When a Black man and Black woman come together, and let's be clear, like, majority of Black couples, right? 86% of Black men marry Black women. Like, so I don't want to make it like a thing where it's like, oh, well, Black men are saying Black women are too,
right. It was one comment.
No.
One comment.
Yeah. So, but I do think that there's a perspective economically that we need to shift, right, as well. When you think about like how we collectively, or like together, shift that perspective on both sides of the coin. I don't like, sometimes social media will make it seem like it's a larger issue, meaning, again, like Black men are looking at Black women, and they're like,
right.
It's not that devastating. It's not that urgent, where, again, like, majority of Black men marry Black women. What I will say is, I also think that from a family perspective, so now we're getting into the Black unit, like that Black household unit. I think when you look outside of just the Black man and Black woman, you have Black grandparents, you have your siblings, you have your nieces, nephews, aunts and uncles, economically, cousins. Our relationship with money, I feel like we're oppressed, but for some reason we're still living in ways that keep us aligned with how the European lives, right? Or the Caucasian lives, right? Yeah. So, but the wealth gap is so dire that I feel like we should not be living
around how we live
at the same standard, right? Not comfortable, but let me put it this way, put it plainly. When I see Mexican families, right, you have a lot of them in the same household. Multi-generational. Thank you. I feel like that is what we need to do more of as a Black community.
Yeah.
If our wealth gap is so big and it's getting worse,
there should be strategy.
We should have a strategy around, okay, we're going to get this house, either a multi-family house or a big house together. Some land,
family land,
put some modular or mobile homes on it, and we live together.
Pool our money, pool our resources. I agree. The biggest take home, like you said, is there should be new strategies around how we handle our finances, because we have grown up in a society, and we actually, I think, the civil rights movement, as much as we took steps forward, we took some steps back too.
We took a lot of steps back
as a unit in the community, because we relied on, okay, now we have access to all this stuff that I think was more of a facade that we had to
No, access. It was, because access doesn't mean progression. Access does not mean progression,
especially when that access is there's a gatekeeper.
Yeah,
so we like, I think, went out in full force and forgot our values, forgot the units, that the community, the pooling our money, keeping it in the community, making sure that the community as a whole had different avenues, like grocery stores and schools and
banks,
right? Yep. Hair supply stores, things like that we need to get back to. And it takes new strategies, like you said, and I love that you said that, because it really does. Like, we are living day to day in a strategy that does not
it
in any
doesn't
way
serve us
us.
at all. Like there is no reason why you, your 5 siblings, your mom, your parents over there, y'all all have a mortgage, right?
Right.
That's
Why?
probably at least $2,000.
Right.
Separate households.
Uh-huh.
So across 5 households, that's $15,000 that y'all are spending. You know, when you could come together and probably get 2 homes, right? And we all put. Now that's a shift too, because
it is
society,
a shift.
yeah, in society, in society, like give me my space, like let me go to my own place and get away from y'all for a second.
That's why I said buy some land.
But sometimes, like just like our ancestors did, like they did the hard things,
yeah,
so we could progress. But we're not progressing economically.
Right, we forgot about the systems that they put in place.
Yeah,
we just kind of were like, deuces
girl. Like I got my job. I'm going to college. I got this. I got that. But that's access. That's not progression.
That's not progression.
Yeah,
correct. So yeah, I do think we need to be very much more strategic around that.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of multi-generational living, and it doesn't have to be a one size fits all. Right. It can look different, like you said.
It can look different.
Because I'm huge on, and I see a vision for us buying land and building on it together. We probably not going to ever share a house together.
See, girl, tell her to shift her mindset.
That's a lot.
Why we can't share a house? Is it a lot though?
Is it 10,000 square feet?
You see what I'm saying?
Do we have a bowling alley? Do we have a basement? Do we have a workout center? Do we have a
and a lot of, like, most Black families feel this way.
New money.
No, but it would be hard for me too. Like y'all would get on my nerves. I would be like, oh my God, I need some space. But for 2 generations later, our children to be catapulted into a different financial sector, like a different level. Yeah. It's worth it.
And that type of living would be normal.
Right. You know? Right. Like it would be worth it.
Yeah. But that's it. That's like, I really think our community is starting to have those conversations where we're opening up the door a little bit to different mindsets around money. And I'm hopeful that we can start being a little bit more strategic in ways that serve us specifically as a community. That's
where I was going to go with it. To your point, I think that we are increasing the education around it, financial literacy, like where do you put your money? How do you grow it? But it's still like on an individual level, right? So how do we systemically in the Black community pull that education to then say, how do we impact, us?
Yep.
How do we elevate economically?
We're going to do it together, y'all. Whether we like it or not, collectively. Ujamaa, what is it?
And Black men and Black women, we got this.
Right.
Okay? Like, we're coming together.
Right. What you said, 86% of
Yeah, it's like 86, 87%. Yeah.
End up with Black women. So the narrative, although it's convenient.
It's very convenient. And you have to be careful about, I got to say it plain. You got to be careful about the fetishes that people have, right? The superficial emotions that people have attached to somebody that looks a certain way, the fantasy around that, versus a woman that knows your plight, that knows what you've been through. She can relate to your mama. She can relate to, like in some sort of way.
It's not always a conversation.
She knows when you come home from work and you got that face, like, all right, like, what happened? Like, right. They're not valuing me. Okay, well, I can understand that. Like, like you have to be careful around somebody just willy-nilly wanting to come and, and help you.
Yeah.
Not saying everyone, but a lot of times it's fantasy.
Yeah. I have witnessed beautiful, genuine relationships.
Interracial
relationships, right? I have also witnessed what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's more of a, let me test it out. Let me, like this looks enticing, but it's not like a deep rooted, I really want to know this person's spirit, soul. You know what I mean? It's not like a lifetime thing. So you really do have to be careful. And that goes for anyone, but truly, like when you are going outside of what you know culturally, you gotta be careful.
Who child?
I ain't got the time. I'm
up
sorry.
like the learning curve.
Yeah,
like
I don't got
the
it.
learning curve it takes to
Life is short. Life is too hard. I cannot spend my days explaining. I cannot
give me my babies with the shrinkage
to the person that's supposed to know you the best and through. I just can't do it.
You got to know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Like, be there with me.
You got to understand. I came home the other day and I had a sigh, and Keith said, "Let's talk about it." Like you just got to know.
Listen. And to that end, like my husband came home the other day, like on cloud 9, because you finally have a company that that values like your genius, not just like you fill a spot. Like they literally value what you have to say, what your ideas, what you bring. And I could feel his joy of being seen and heard. Like that's not always the case,
right?
And it's actually pretty rare for Black men and Black women. So like just those little things, like
the nuances,
because that side that.
Right, that deep sigh. He said, "Come on, baby, let's talk about it."
What happened, right?
But yeah, that's it, y'all. Mother knows. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts around this topic. We're always learning a lot, I think, from the comments that you guys share, and we really appreciate it. So share your thoughts.
Love y'all for real.
Mother knows co. Mother_knows. All that good stuff. Bye.